it is that Washington and US really is distracted with Malana's video and Trump and Marco Rubio watching wrestling matches while the talks are going on over here, to Hillary Clinton also kind of revisiting her position on Iran nuclear sites attacks. So much is happening, and the argument that she was giving based on her information and chat with a few people was that people are really getting worried as to where this war is going. That is a sum total of what she's saying. So let me take that as a lead and start with you, Lori. We are focused, I mean, all of you guys and us were really focused on Islamabad talks. Is that the only story in Washington? Does Trump really have that kind of focus that we think he has? Or does he have other dynamics that are driving him?
This president is extremely chaotic in his rationale and his thinking and his policies, and it's really hard for anyone to try to get inside of his head about what he's thinking. And I think that's the problem that the majority of Americans are having right now, especially when they have been still begging for him to explain why the United States joined Israel or was coerced, that's up for debate as well, into engaging in this war with Iran at this exact moment in time. What was the emerging threat? What is the strategy moving forward, and why are you choosing to do this, and how long is this going to play out? Because Americans, I will tell you, there's an affordability crisis. Americans are suffering economically, and most of the time they probably wouldn't pay as much attention to what's going on overseas in the Middle East and foreign policy, but people are laser focused on this right now because it is affecting their bottom line, and that's why I think more people than before are paying attention to this, and it's also hurting him extremely with regards to politically. And so, yeah, it's hard to see what he's focused on. There are many distractions, but others think that sometimes he creates these distractions to take the focus off maybe Epstein, or maybe that he's suffering in the polls, or maybe that these tariffs are hurting people, the affordability crisis, like I'm saying. There's a cadre of issues that he uses these distractions for, but this is serious business. We are talking about people's lives here. We are talking about the global economy, and we are talking about global supply chains. I mean,
not long ago he was talking about dropping the nukes.
Yes,
and he
obliterating
said that
an entire civilization.
That was a suggestion, but then he says that on us or elsewhere, and then look at how the stocks will fall. So he talks about nuclear weapons as if he's talking about choice. But you make a very interesting point. Chaotic, we know, but Tanya, is there a method in this madness? Because this is not the first time US is involved in a foreign crisis, not the first time they're trying to blockade a country, not the first time they've had a war, in the Middle East particularly. What's so different with this crisis, apart from the president being so chaotic?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said there's a method to the madness, because I'm not inclined to believe that this is just off the top of his head stuff that he tweets. No, I think that there's a very deliberate intention to disseminate misinformation, disinformation, and to distract people. I think that one of the defining characteristics of this war has been an unprecedented level of misinformation that's been circulating everywhere. So people just don't know what to believe anymore. Between the misinformation and the manufactured facts, images, the fake news, it's hard enough for politicians to tell what's right or what's true and what's not, let alone the guy sitting in his living room and scrolling, what do you say, doom scrolling, or watching the news. So I think there is a deliberate attempt to create a kind of fog so people don't know what's going on.
But it's also always putting the shoe on the wrong foot. I'm just looking at this report from his press conference. He says that we can't let a country blackmail or extort the world. He's talking about Iran. But for a second I thought he was talking about the US itself. I mean, he said that I want to open the Strait of Hormuz by closing it. This is unbelievable. And the Strait of Hormuz was open to everybody before the war started. But we'll sort of,
with no toll fee, by the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Kathleen, you have been reporting from Islamabad. This was serious business, right? I mean, at least we now have the Iranian version of it. They have said that we came this close to it. Everything was almost settled. And then the US maximized the position. And they still haven't really said no to it. So your take on how serious were the Islamabad talks?
I want to go back to what Tanya was saying about misinformation and a lot of misinformation being out there. That was something that I took very seriously when I was doing the live reporting from Islamabad as the talks were undergoing. There was so much misinformation going left and right. A lot of that being put out by Iran to particularly, sway people to think the talks are going one way or another. It's so important to cut through that noise and only listen to official sources, or at least just responsible journalism is so important right now. And I think that,
But if official sources, official sources from Pakistan were also sounding very positive. They continue to sound very positive. Today we have the Pakistani Defense Minister suggest that this was just the first round, and he does not rule out the possibility of yet another round. That's also the kind of narrative that we're hearing from Pakistan. So at which point did you think that the talks probably would yield something?
I think you just nailed it on the head. I landed in Islamabad and I did not have great hopes for these talks. I cover this. I do this every day. I've covered lots of peace talks. I cover Ukraine very often. They haven't gone anywhere. And certainly you don't wrap up a war in a day. And so it was very interesting to me to land here and start talking to people, and there was so much optimism that we were going to solve the war here, and I so appreciate that optimism, and I think it says something really special about the Pakistani spirit. But when you're looking at it, I mean, this is diplomacy. This is very difficult. This is not something that just whips up. And so I caution that optimism about this being cleared up. We all want it to happen, but it's not going to happen until it happens.
Yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But could it have happened? That's a million-dollar question that we don't want to get into. That's speculative. But is there a chance now that Trump has taken the goalpost to the next level? He has announced a blockade. And before the program, we were talking. You asked a very pointed question, almost rhetorical, with a rhetorical flourish, which is, has he actually blocked it? And that got me thinking. I don't know. He says he's blocked it, but we're looking at the data. Some ships have already passed today. Has he moved the goalpost? Has it gone beyond the prospect that Islamabad talks offered? Is it a different story now? Is it about Strait of Hormuz blockade?
I don't understand from a military standpoint how you can block it without involving our military or putting boots on the ground, specifically maybe Karg Island, for example. And there is zero appetite from members of Congress, including members of Congress in the Republican Party, who have the majority right now in the House and Senate. And overwhelmingly, the American public is against putting boots on the ground. You've also seen this president, through way of Pete Hegseth, say that they've not even test ballooned this. They're making an announcement that there's going to be a federal data registry for men between the ages of 18 and 25 that will be drafted, automatically drafted into the military. Into what? War? Into being sent to the Middle East, specifically to Iran. You cannot just take U.S. naval vessels from places that they were already stationed in theater that are critically important to us and move them like that into the region. I mean, this takes weeks upon
weeks. And demining also takes
a
very long time.
It takes a long time to demine as well. That could also take weeks upon months. And it's putting our U.S. military in danger. Because if you cannot guarantee that they will not be harmed by doing these patrol actions, and do we have any allies that are going to help us patrol? That's also been, I don't know if it's disinformation, things that we have heard while we've been here, that maybe some countries are going to come to the table to take on that